Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the World Championship Series hosted by NASL. I'm Day9.
And I'm Andre Gretorp.
And this...
That was wrong. We got to redo it.
Hello, I'm Day9.
And I'm Gretorp.
And it's time to do a little bit of WCS Canada Winners Bracket semifinal action. And I'm excited because this isn't just the first tournament cast I've done today. It's also the first one I've done since my extended hiatus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so glad to have you back.
I
with
know.
me?
I know. We figured that we should have the most affectionate casting duo possible.
Oh, my goodness.
And what better choice than the two furriest men in esports?
Exactly. I mean, I shaved about an hour ago, but I decided to let it grow out for this cast, and I'm very happy to do so. I can't wait to
rub faces, to cause sparks to fly.
Sorry.
My God, this is already on the top of Reddit. Listen. And I did see the thread about Richard Simmons. Listen. Right now in the current WCS bracket, we are in the semifinals of the winners, which means these players are already in the top 10. But I think that probably the most notable aspect of WCS Canada is just the number of upsets that are in it. I mean, we see Drewby and Scarlet on one semifinal and DDE versus DdoRo in the other.
Yeah, I'm especially looking at the top group. I think Drewby coming out of nowhere. I mean, he was inactive for about, 6 months to a year. And he just comes onto the scene and places already so high in the winner's bracket. Scarlet, the other one that's upsetting like crazy. 2-0's Huck, 2-1's Astoji is just on a tear in this series.
Yes,
and yet again proving why she is one of the top Zerg players in North America.
And what's so impressive to me is that, I mean, she's been performing so well against different races, and now here she is up against Drewby soon enough. And I just think the consistent pattern between all these people is that they're real dedicated online players.
Yes.
The names that you see here are not really the ones who sort of cower away and play with practice partners, only show their face at the live events. Scarlet, DDE, DdoRo, Drewby have been playing in a ton of the online cups. I know DDE has been in, the finals of like 7 Playhems in the last month.
And on top of that, it's notable that DDE and DdoRo both have very similar styles and have been consistently successful. And that style is to be as volatile as possibly human can. As can possibly human be. Exactly.
Indubitably.
These two players, I mean, DDE, you can't ever peg him what he's going to do. I've played a lot of TVTs with him. He's gone bio sometimes. He goes air Terran sometimes. He goes just regular mech. He goes a mixture of bio mech. It's just out of this world. DdoRo, always known for bringing this 1 or 2 really cheesy plays sometimes, but really effective things that you haven't seen.
What I really like about DdoRo is the fact that no matter what cheesy type goofiness he is going to employ, he does have solid follow-ups. He's the sort of player who you can see do a 2-base all-in, realize it's not going to play off correctly, and then pull back and do a solid play.
He actually reminds me a lot of DDE's style when he was Protoss back in StarCraft.
Oh, that is a good point, yeah.
Like, that's exactly what DDE did back in StarCraft Brood. He would do a lot of, like, Reaver micro, things like this. And behind that, just be very abusive, macroing up as much as possible. And, he kind of very similar styles going into this. That means we might have a lot of volatility in the early stages with the initial build orders. Yeah,
DDE, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how wide his gamut of opening plays are. I mean, he is just... he's the sort of person that, when StarCraft 2 first comes out, you just think of it in, like, that fantasy combo style. You're like, oh, dude, what if you just went mass Viking Banshee and scanned to kill all his observers? You'd win, man! And all those sorts of plays get slowly thrown out the windows. People just go bio.
Yeah.
But DDE does them, and does them well.
Yeah.
With great success.
It's fascinating because it's sort of like he just does what he thinks the position calls for a lot of the times, but like within the scope of what he wants to do. I know that sounds really weird. It's like position call for it, but what he wants to do. But he's like, okay, how can I make this 100% effective? And because you haven't played against this, because you're not used to going against something like this, I'm actually going to get a lot larger returns off of this than I would normally if, for example, they've played for an infinite amount of games.
Yeah, so it looks like, well, I suppose we should introduce the players, of course, as we are on the map. Down in the bottom left, we have from Team Quantic, it is DdoRo, and DDE, who I believe is on, it's Gosu.
Yes, he is.
I mean, I didn't see the tag there. I got fearful for a moment, but
I can't believe it. No.
Indeed, he has not left your team, Andre.
No, he hasn't. Thank goodness. DDE, honestly, he's been fluctuating a lot. There was a period in time where he just wasn't playing at all, and then he goes on these sprees where he just can't stop playing.
Yes.
Right now, currently, thankfully, he is in tip-top form. He's been playing really, really well lately, and I think that's been reflective in this tournament. So already we're seeing some interesting deviations. DdoRo throwing down that gas geyser at DDE's main base while also taking an early gas geyser in his own. Antigua Shipyard known for the very common one-gate fast expands. What do you think about DdoRo's choice both to gas steal and take his own second gas? I actually like this variation a lot, especially with DDE known for having that very large range of styles. I think doing this really cuts the amount of things he can do and kind of forces it into that macro game. Taking the second assimilator obviously just gives him a larger variance of openings, but normally to DdoRo he will. Oh, what is this? Robotics facility. Ooh, very interesting. So a lot of different tech paths open up for him, namely drop. I've seen him do a lot of times just 4 zealot drops, and just having that on the radar forces DDE to play a little bit defensive, or I should say normal Terrans to play a little bit defensive. Normally it's as soon as there's an attack, you defend. Yeah. But DDE has been known to, okay, when you attack, I will also attack, which is kind of an unorthodox way of defending, Yeah, DDE, I think, did a little bit of betrayal to himself by when this geyser was going down in his main base, it saw that the factory finished and didn't do anything for about 10 seconds. Oh. So that immediately reveals that the opponent is likely either going to be going add-on or starport. Immediately makes this choice to go robotics facility excellent from DdoRo. DdoRo has still yet to expand, stockpiling up quite a few sentries. Would not be surprised to see him expand and quite quickly tech to the Colossus after getting that second gateway. Yeah. I mean, there's really not that much that DDE can do that will be bad against that, but DDE, per usual, having a very odd configuration of buildings and add-ons. Yeah, I actually like this. This gives him the option in case there is a scout to really fool your opponent. And why not? Yes, he will have to lift off a little bit later, but still it maintains the same thing that he wants to do, which is this pseudo 1-1-1. We've seen this pressure a lot of times back in the day. This build, wow, yeah. He's just going to be going for a big one-base pressure. It can transition into 2-base, but he's going to have to make that transition choice real fast. And there's DdoRo's observer sneaking in, seeing possibly almost everything, but actually skirts far around the outskirts. And there he is, getting ready to transition back into the Banshee play. And this is just such a brilliant way for DDE to go, man, you stole my gas, whatever. I'll just focus on Marines for a little bit, and then I'll be 1-1-1-ing. And it's interesting, too, because normally when you take someone's gas, it's like, well, you can't do this. DDE is still choosing to do it. Like we said before, he wants to still do whatever he's planning on doing. He just, he doesn't care, and it will be significantly weaker because of that. But, we'll see if he's able to do anything of this. With the observers inside the base, this is like a clear thing for DdoRo saying, like, oh, I just play defensive, and I should technically be ahead economically because this is kind of weaker Banshee play. So, I want to ask your opinion on something, Andre. Sure. I mean, the Protoss player has seen this really unusual play from DDE, and I mean, unless you've seen him playing the Playhems, this is a very, very rare build for a Terran player to do. Look, now DDE once again backing up and going for the reactor at starport. In your eyes, what's going through DdoRo's head? Okay, so what I'm saying is this is going to be just like this siege tank push. That's what my opponent is threatening at this point. The siege tank push with, it's like Marine Marauder siege tanks, and you're pushing out at like +1, something like that. That exists. That's the #1 thing, because it's kind of wasteful to get all of this tech. The order of everything is kind of out of whack. You need that extra, that boost to your army if you want to keep alive. Oh, and it looks like DDE is going to lose a Banshee down to the natural, and he does manage to take out a sentry. In the main, we see this combat shield Marine drop starting to do some nice damage. He's managed to take out 2 sentries already, hopefully going to be able to take down a 3rd to make that drop worth it. DdoRo trying to warp in, but amazingly, DDE using his classic crisp micro to execute that attack without really losing anything. Very excellent play. Something to note about DDE as well is he just recently started to actually put his barracks and his command centers on hotkeys. He never used to do that before.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of months ago that he actually started to do that. So that might have definitely actually helped him out with his macro and micro. Just and it's something minor.
Yeah, it's funny to note that the sort of residual skill you get from not having your buildings on hotkeys is it forces you to use the minimap a lot. You have to click back in the main. You have to click back on your units. You have to click on the minimap whenever you want to grab some sort of scout. Click to re-rally your freaking army to the rest of your army. And with that in mind, we see DDE looking at the minimap a lot more than the average Terran, who's been 1Aing his way into atrophy.
I do want to say one thing. I mean, because DDE hasn't gotten the siege tanks, his army technically should be slightly smaller. Now, he has gotten good returns so far, and more importantly, DdoRo, as you said, he should have probably teched to Colossus after 2 gateways. He didn't do that. That's significantly weakening his army because he doesn't want to be investing this much gas into stalkers, into sentries. And it's because he got this delayed Colossus, he's not able to deal with these drops efficiently, and therefore he has to recompensate for that by getting an abundance of units that is all concentrated in gas.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, you're saying DdoRo, well, he's gotten these late Colossi. He's kind of obligated to do something big with his 2 base, and man, he is just going to be going 8 gate, Blink, big drop incoming, and it looks like DDE's first medevac gets picked off. Blink is almost done. DDE is not moving anywhere with those units. This is a terrible funnel for DdoRo to be fighting through, and now it looks like DDE will try to get away, and does so successfully. 2 sacrificial medevacs might take some damage. No, they managed to get away, but even so, DDE is in complete control of the game at this point. I mean, we haven't seen any attempt from DdoRo to do any sort of third base.
The only thing DdoRo has going for him is that +1 armor that will be negated pretty soon. In 30 seconds, the +1 weapons attack will finish for DDE. You can see he's just straight up on bio, and I like this. It's a double reactor style instead of seeing
I love Mass Marine style. I mean, like, the Marine is just... It's such a dangerous unit. You have to have incredible micro to avoid the force fields, the Colossi, the Templar, but I think DDE just excellently managed to push his opponent into a non-Templar, non-Colossus situation. He's just going to rely on all the damage output he can.
Honestly, I think it's a superior way to play it, even though, you know, a lot of, these medevacs.
Oh my God,
go on top of there.
DDE is now stepped into a terrible position. There's warp-ins going down. DDE, I think, realizes that there's no way for him to be able to escape from this, but the fact is that Marines are really, really good, Gretorp, and he's just taking them out with ease.
Exactly. Marines being utilized by those reactors, but now it looks like those stalkers getting cleaned up, which will, you know, effectively stop any form of getting rid of the medevacs.
Ouch.
1 medevac goes down. So that's still 3 out of the 4, but still DDE has been able to do a lot of pressure and kill a lot of stalkers. And those stalkers, you don't want that count to grow. If it grows, then basically every attack that you do, say goodbye to your medevacs because they will most certainly die.
And look at this. It looks like DDE is sacrificing this 1 medevac drop to be able to pierce the front. He's sprinting ahead. Attempted warp-in from DdoRo, going to immediately lose everything. Has charge been researched? No, it hasn't even been started. DDE continuing to manipulate DdoRo's army positioning and just rallying to the center. Look at that little trail of ants. But DDE has not yet started a 3rd command center of his own. This is a very aggressive play from DDE. I almost think he has to do damage in the next 3 minutes or it's a waste.
Most definitely. The big problem is, as you said, the charge. Charge needs to be up here at this point, and I'm really confused why it's not. We do see +2 armor is finished, and +2 weapons attack is just about 1/3 of the way done. This is a giant timing for DdoRo to do something with his army. I mean, the reduction of damage done by each Marine, it's in half with Guardian Shield. That's quite substantial. It's actually more than that, excuse me.
I mean, who cares? No one likes math anyways, except us, both math majors. It's somewhere over 50%. People basically call that a really heavy coin. Looks like DDE now moving down, scanning. And, you know, I like DDE. He's one of the first players I've seen do this huge delay in muling mid-game in favor of scans. His economy tends to be pretty battered, but, ooh, look at all the SCVs coming. I'm not so sure I like this. He's already delayed his 3rd expansion so long.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. He needs to make sure. I just don't know what to think about this. It's just really weird. But Stalker's getting battered on the top.
Yeah, DdoRo is placing his Stalkers in a nice arc to defend against medevac drops, but DDE is just shooting from the low ground. Scans himself, ordinarily to take out an observer, but perhaps he was doing it just to make sure he didn't mess up.
Oh, medevac's almost caught out. I don't know where they were going, but he's going to try to keep approaching this. And now the first Colossus is out. This will help so much.
DdoRo's holding on, but the Colossus ends up falling. DdoRo, who was holding on for so long, just got into a very bad engagement. Lots of force fields getting thrown down, but it looks like DdoRo's food is rapidly falling. DDE does have a huge swell of Marines trying to step on into the fray. That Immortal going to soak up a lot of damage, and DdoRo, excellent defense. The SCVs that were near the front getting picked off as well. Only one more force field of energy left in that, and DdoRo with a magnificent defense. Looks like he might be able to hold on a little bit longer, maybe not. More reinforcements from DDE.
Yeah, as soon as those sentries ran out of energy, you need that Guardian Shield up to reduce the amount of damage done by those Marines, especially seeing as it's a Marine concentrated force. These Marines and Marauders look like they might be cleaned up. It's so close at this point, but it looks like straggling reinforcements will help out quite a bit. DdoRo and DDE both playing so scrappy.
Oh, there's another Colossus, and if that gets sniped down, DdoRo's attempts to be aggressive will be shut down, but no, the blink coming in so handy. More medevacs fall down. Will he get another 2? Holy SCV train. What is his SCV count at 42? How many does he have there? 24. Half the SCVs are at the front lines. Look at his expansions, Andre. There's like nothing mining at it.
I have no clue what this supply depot is, by the way, in the middle of the map. That's really interesting to me. But yeah, let's check the income tab, 42 to 53, and like
it's one of those really advanced versions, and this prevents some kind of odd wall off.
He burrowed it too.
He burrowed it. It's gonna hide. Oh wait, no, it's not cloaked. There's no detection needed to find supply depots in StarCraft 2. Yet, Heart of the Swarm is coming. Maybe that's an upgrade. Cloaked burrowed depots.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh, I would do that to everybody. Anyway, Zealot's gonna get over to the third base and just chug away at some of these SCVs before it gets cleaned up. You know, this is a really scrappy game. Let me just take a look at everything and see who's ahead, who's behind. I want to say DdoRo is behind at this point, even though the supplies are rather similar. Just the fact that DDE has his third command center over there and it's churning out stuff. I really feel like he's able to materialize off of that. Upgrades are pretty similar. +3 on the way, and DdoRo is looking at approaching 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, to state some of the obvious aspects of mid-game TVP, DDE, Marine, Marauder, Medevac, Vikings now to combat the Colossus, eventually Ghosts. Story over in DdoRo's base. He wants to have a lot of gateways with Speed Zealot, Colossus, Sentry, Templar eventually. Both of them have that eventual tech choice, but I think it's interesting to note some of the unusual aspects of the position we see both these players in. DdoRo does have a lot of warp gates, but he's expanding. He doesn't quite want to be burning a lot of cash on that yet, but this leaves him with the opportunity to counterattack. Interesting aspects on DDE's side. The barracks left open, the sort of weird composition of reactors and tech labs he has also allows him to do some odd tech switches if he wants to, adding on extra reactor starports, etc. I mean, do you like using the reactor or the add-on list barracks in the early and mid-game for that reason?
I don't. I think you should always put something on there. I think DDE is just being a little bit lazy with that. I think there's no reason why you shouldn't. Just give that extra ability. And you're done. Even if it's a reactor and you want to switch it into a tech lab later, you might as well go ahead and do it. It's just extra production for you. It's an extra barracks or whatever it might be. In this position, I do want to mention real quick, DDE has a pretty big advantage, not because he's ahead in workers, but because of how fast the main is going to mine out here. The gas, more importantly, you can see it's a ticking time bomb. He only has 400 more gas in both of these, and it's because the mid game has been shifted a full 5 to 7 minutes over. And because of that, High Templars aren't really capable. You can't really get a huge High Templar count. Because look at this, the Stalker count is significantly being suffered. And now the Vikings are just going to clean up dramatically.
DDE sprinting into action. It looks like the Vikings were able to do some damage, but incredible target firing with those Archons, and DdoRo manages to prevent the death of both of those Colossi. We see yet again Archons doing a lot of damage to the Viking. DdoRo taking significantly more hits, and there's the sprint up, takes down one Colossus. The second one falls, but amazingly again, DdoRo with a phenomenal defense in that position.
Cannot believe that. DDE, I think he misplayed, obviously. There's no need to actually push in there. Just wait until everything gets mined out. And your Ghosts are actually a lot better in combination with your army. You can go ahead and tech up because, a Marine Marauder army doesn't require that much gas. It requires a lot of gas when you're experiencing tech switches, but if you have a lot of retention in your army, you can actually do everything very, very efficiently.
It's a really important thing to bring up because, I mean, right now, DDE is going to suffer from exactly that problem. He needs to get those extra upgrades up. He needs to get the Ghost Academy upgrades, the Mobius reactor. He needs to get freaking Ghosts built. And look, he's only just begun to mine from that third refinery at his at his natural expansion, hasn't even taken the refineries at his third base, and here we have DdoRo stockpiling up in the middle, and I honestly think DDE is shocked that this game is still going on. I think he was 100% certain he would win with that attack, but DdoRo's impeccable unit placement helped him pull through. Yeah,
I think if you just max the 200-200, there's no way that DdoRo can actually deal with that with the limited gas intake, the income that he's been witnessing, and just so much trades. Look at this, SCV's being pulled again.
Again? Oh, wow. He's going to walk into...
Storm isn't up, though, Day9.
Oh, he still needs 20 more seconds on the Storm. A big engagement. DDE is getting an excellent angle, has lost only SCVs, is spreading out. There's one Colossus in the front right now, and DDE is managing to break through. This is the exact kind of craziness that allows him to succeed so much, but that Storm is done. Andre,
oh, man. And that's going to hurt him so hard. The Zealots are going to tank all the damage. DDE looks to be cleaned up after really, really intense fighting of 24 minutes. DdoRo will take game number 1. Absolutely phenomenal play coming out from those two players.
I mean, just to review the impressive aspects of that game, DDE with a wacky build that arrived, that didn't just arrive back to a safe mid game, but also was able to do damage, catch DdoRo off guard, put DdoRo completely on the defensive. I mean, honestly, if you're any player and you're in DDE's base and you're like, why did he rush for a starport and a factory and then put the tech lab on the barracks? What is coming? Is there some sort of Reaper drop with a Hellion? Like, it's so hard to make sense of it.
Exactly. It's like he's doing damage to himself, but still, he's at the caliber where it still works pretty well. It's like going Reaper into really fast cloaked Banshee, right? In TVT, something like that. It's like, theoretically, it's incorrect. You should not do it because you're just taking so much damage in the beginning by delaying your factory. But because people don't expect you to go Banshee almost, it's like it can do damage.
And it's one of those things where
weird.
There's only so much theory crafting you can do before you actually just have to test it out.
Yeah.
And DDE, I mean, showing some great flair in the early game, but DdoRo with that just spiffy positioning.
Yeah,
it was downright bejugular.
And you know what? What's so cool about it, too, is that when you go Blinkstalker play off of 8-gate, that's normally like, I take map control. You don't have that medevac drop capabilities. And throughout the whole thing, DDE is able to find these little areas where it gives him the ability to...
Yeah, that's right. Put those health bars on select.